It says on air. There we go. Now it's all going to YouTube. I put it down as unlisted though, for now. All right. So then we're still rolling, but we're just, we're in the private part. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm so out of practice. Holy cow. All right. So let's just do it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. John, edit here. Hello and welcome to Techlandia. How are you doing today? I am John Samuelson in Portland, Oregon, wearing my Chicago sweatshirt because
fabulous sweatshirt.
Thank you very much. I'm representing this is actually a Chicago Bulls throwback sweatshirt, is what they tell me, but I'm wearing it for D Wade at his retirement yesterday, which was kind of sad.
Yes,
he's a Chicago boy,
No, I did not know that.
He's a Chicago boy. Did you not see the video of Dwayne Wade where he's been trading jerseys and Dave Burgess, not to name drop here, this is where we need a sound effect. Dave Burgess on our name drop tweeted out that you should watch this Dwayne Wade video, and they had all these people come in and like they were just regular people that Dwayne Wade had helped, but one of them was his mom, who had a serious drug addiction and was incarcerated while Dwayne Wade was.
Oh, I did see some of that.
Okay, so yeah, you have to. It's 4 minutes. I showed it to my wife last night. I said, "Have you seen Dwayne Wade's video?" She's like, "No." And then I said, "Oh, let me." I knew she would totally bawl her eyes out the whole time, and it didn't disappoint. She totally bawled her eyes out the whole time because it's kind of nice, you hear all these things about athletes, and then sometimes you don't hear the good things that people do.
That's right. And it was a nice, I saw the tail end, and I saw when he fell into the crowd. He fell into John Legend's lap.
Oh yeah,
and that was kind of funny.
Oh,
being from Ontario, Canada, basketball really wasn't the sport that I watched growing up.
You know what though? I mean, you got some great. We're turning this into sports chat, but you've got some great basketball players that have been coming out of Canada. They've been very high draft choices. You have I can't even think of it right now. You have the one Anthony Bennett, who is from Canada, and then he's been a horrible bust. But you've got RJ Barrett is coming out, and he's going to be like the number 3 overall draft choice, and he's from Canada. I know that much. So
yeah, there's hope for us yet.
There is. There's good hope. And come on, don't make me go down the list of fame. We could go edgy famous Canadians, but we could just go famous Canadians like Matthew Perry and all those great people, right? Jim Carrey.
Steve Nash.
Come on now. Anyway, I'm John Samuelson, and the person talking, we haven't even let you introduce yourself. Will you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I will. Christina Luce in central New York, and it is chilly here today, though not snowing, which we will take. I'm a K-8 instructional technology specialist for Liverpool Central Schools.
Ooh, Liverpool. I thought maybe when I got your Gmail that you were a soccer fan.
No, nothing. Although that was a sport I played growing up, but yeah, no, it wasn't a nod to soccer at all.
Okay, that's all right. Well, that's all right then. So anyway, Christina, we're trying out new Techlandia. What do you say? Techlandia 2019. We haven't done a Techlandia for years now, probably since 2016.
Oh my goodness!
I know. Is that sad?
That is sad. It is a little sad.
I don't know. Well, anyway, we'll start it up. So we're going to give you. We like to say that we've talked about this. Christina and I talked about this, and we hatched this crazy plan to start back up. But we just said, hey, we're going to keep it real. We're going to share some things, but we're also going to share some things that are on our mind, and then we'll just see where it happens. Maybe we'll have some guests. Maybe we won't have some guests. Who knows?
Yeah, I think for me it was I just didn't want to do more of the same. There's lots of awesome podcasts out there. And, I just wanted to try something a little different. So I'm grateful for the opportunity. Nods to grumpy old teachers.
Yeah, nods to grumpy old teachers. Right. Well, you'll definitely do something. When we did Techlandia back in the day, when we started it, it was Allison Anderson and I, just the two of us. And we didn't really plan on interviewing people, but then we started to meet people at conferences, and then it kind of grew to that. And now everybody does a lot of the interviewing things, and I think that's cool. But yeah, I think we did it a long time ago. Scott Bedley and I always talk about which podcast started first, the Bedley Brothers or Techlandia. And I think that we might have started exactly like a month before the Bedley Brothers did.
Oh my gosh.
But right, but then he'll say he started on like December 30th, and I'll say we did actually start on the 31st. We did it on New Year's Eve for some reason because we had no life, Alice and I. Yeah.
For a while with the Broomfield teachers.
Yep. So anyway, so we'll try and not be all negative, although I am a middle-aged grumpy white guy. But we'll try and get things going. So Christina, go ahead. We're going to share some things that we like and some things that we don't like. And coincidentally, on this first episode, we didn't look at each other's, but the thing that was bothering us was the same thing in New York and the same thing on the Pacific time zone in Portland. So we'll go with the good thing first. Christina, why don't you hit us off with the cool thing that you like from this week in education?
So this is actually going back a little bit. March 18th, our district did a superintendent conference day. And so they made it more of an unconference style event. And it was more staff members sharing what they do well in their classrooms, things that get kids fired up, engagement, that sort of thing. And the awesome piece for me, I go to 9 elementary buildings and the 3 middle schools. And in my travels, since that conference day, I'm seeing people put into practice those things that they learned on that conference day. I mean, and so many times we talk about PD and PD being done to us and for us, and not having it be applicable to what we do in the classroom. And there I was seeing the perfect example of teachers getting what they needed and being able to put that into practice. So
that's pretty cool. So how did you set it up unconference style? So did you come in and legit just say, okay, we're going to come in and we're going to try and organize this the same day and do it like an ed camp?
Yeah. We have 600 teaching faculty.
Wow.
And then we have teaching assistants that are part of the day as well. So to actually do the full unconference where you create the schedule of the day of the event is just a little bit too cumbersome. So what we did was have teachers or other staff members submit session ideas ahead of time, and we put it into my learning plan, and then people signed up for the sessions that they wanted to go to. So
that's pretty cool.
Structure, because we're talking about such a large number of people, and finding spaces for those people. But yeah, everything was kind of like crowdsourced in terms of what people wanted to present. And it wasn't all, it wasn't all technology. It wasn't all pedagogy. We had health and wellness sorts of things too. So
I think that's good. I think it's like in Oregon, what it'll surprise you in fourth grade, because I'm more of a 4th and 5th grade teacher when I'm not doing my little teacher on special assignment gig. But 4th grade is the Oregon Trail. Go figure, in Oregon, right? So we talk about that a lot. And I think it's really valuable if you go, hey, teacher over here in this building, why don't you share with some of the other teachers like what your cool project is? And I think even if you could like come together and 3 or 4 different 4th grade teachers from different buildings and go, hey, you know what? I kind of do this, and you can kind of start to remix it and do some things like that. And if they actually do it, there's a lot of value in just letting some teachers talk and plan with people that aren't, because you can get siloed in the buildings, right?
Exactly.
And so I think that sometimes it's good to be like, sometimes when I was a 4th grade teacher, go figure, like I was kind of a lone ranger out there, and sometimes I would sit in on like our planning stuff, but I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to do all that stuff, I'd be kind of like, no, I think I can do that, but I'm going to do something different. And I'd share it, and they'd be like, oh, and so then I would just kind of sit in those meetings and be like, okay, but it is nice to talk to other people where you're like, oh, okay, there's a person, not saying that I'm the biggest go-getter, but there's a person that wants to try, like, I want to try something new. I get bored teaching the same thing over and over again. Like just because something works doesn't mean that I won't try and change it up a little bit and make it a little bit more, I don't know, better, right?
Yeah, and so that was one of the things that kind of came out of that, was that we saw, teachers, that were really excelling in one area, and they just don't have the time, right? And because we're 9 buildings and you're spread out geographically, and how do I get in to see that other teacher teach? This was kind of an opportunity to do that. We even had one session, they were doing Socratic seminar, and they brought students, to come in and help model. And that was just amazing. I mean, they were my former kiddos, so I was like super psyched. Yeah.
Right.
So
I think that's good. I know. And I think that's good. And I think giving people some ownership in what they want to learn. Like when I used to get different district, I can't even say it, district staff development days, I would be like, what? I would kind of look at it when my wife has taught in the same district as I have for many years now. So I'd kind of look at it. I'd go, what's the nearest lunch place we can run to real quick and get a real lunch instead of just, what we normally grab or don't eat, when you're teaching all day long. And that was how I decided which PDs were good, because otherwise I would just come back in with my little, flan, come back with my flan and eat it while they were giving, the afternoon speech. And I'd be like, watch this. I'm going to run, like in Austin, Texas. I'd be like, watch this. I'm going to run to Hula Hut and I'm going to go get a real lunch. They'd be like, oh, John, you'll never make it. And I used to make it. And we'd come back and I'd be like, ha ha, I got to eat at Hula Hut. And that was my biggest takeaway from the district, the whole day of district staff development, was that I showed everybody in my staff that I could eat a good lunch and get away with it.
See, we got wise to you. We had food trucks come.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Right?
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, gosh, in Portland, we're a food truck staple.
I know.
Right?
So you can propose that next time.
I know. Well, we're Beaverton, right? So we're the suburbs of Portland. We're like the far western suburbs of Portland. So, we're kind of still cool, but not really, because we're suburban. Anyway, okay. So let's talk about one thing. I think that's awesome, and off the top, real quick, ed camps. Did you used to love ed camps 5 years ago?
All about the ed camps.
I know.
All kinds of them. And I got to give a nod to like Rachel Murrett, who's like still like beating the drum for the ed camps and traveling all over the place. I mean, she was looking for people to go to Lehigh Valley. I think Lehigh Valley is like this weekend, who wanted to carpool. I even organized a couple myself, but
I did too. Yeah, I know. It's funny. I do. I just feel like they kind of have lost momentum somehow, and it's too bad, because they've really kind of gained some funding and traction with things. Right. They even had a big event here in Portland where they came in and talked about it, and it was interesting. We did some training with. Oh, it was pretty cool. But yeah, I feel like the ed camps are just kind of, boy, I don't know. I've probably been to like 15 or 16 of them myself. Texas used to have a ton of them. And I don't know. It's interesting. I think that model of PD still works, though. Give teachers some choice. Let other teachers talk about some cool projects.
Right.
It's not hard.
On a tangent, but I'm curious, because it's kind of like the ed chats on Twitter too, which I was like super into when I first got on. And when and that was really like when Techlandia was coming out and the Bedley Brothers came out, I was so into doing all the Twitter chats, and like the first formal chat I jumped into, it was like formative chat this week. And I was like, man, I forgot what it was like to be, so I wonder if it's because we've been in the space for a while. And so we've just kind of moved to a different.
Yeah, I know. No, I know what you're saying. Like there's time where people go, oh yeah, we're going to do this ed chat. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know. That one's lost its luster. And you know what? To be honest, I really didn't ever participate that much. The only time I'd ever participate is if people would ask me to think of the questions and moderate.
Oh, right.
Moderating can be a little bit of a challenge, but there's some of it where I look back at some of them. Like we have an Oregon one that there's only a few people that participate, but I look back at it and they're like, hey, we're doing this book and it's just kind of, I don't know. Sometimes, I don't know. Like I said, I'm middle-aged. I'm old. I can't have happy talk all the time. I'm out there. You're out there too. Yeah. We're it's not all happy. And that leads right in to our big gripe, which is morale on April 11th, 2019. It's funny that both of us put in morale as one of the things that is a challenge right now. And especially for us, since we travel to different schools, that's how I know. I can see students. I don't talk to students about morale that much unless I'm trying to pep them up a little bit, but I can see it in their eyes. You can see those looks. And just talking to teachers, and is it like, you haven't had spring break yet, but we've already had our spring break. So it's like post spring break morale. Right. And I think that there's so many things that are going on right now. We're in a contract year. So we're renegotiating with our union. So that's a huge thing. We had a big rally yesterday on Pioneer Square and in Portland. Funding is
Yeah.
being decided. And here's the thing with funding for me. Okay, so funding from the state level, and I know that everybody has to argue about it or whatever, and we have to go over it, and they're on their own calendar. Why do we not change the district calendar? Like, so we're not going to know until about June how much money we get, and people want to know. Like, I would like to know what's my job going to be next year. It's probably not going to be this job. They're probably going to kick me back to the classroom if they're making a huge amounts of budget cuts. Why can't we get our fiscal years lined up? So that why can't we change things? I don't understand. Is it like that in New York? Because that's the way it is in Oregon.
It absolutely is. I mean, the governor has pushed to get the budget done, the beginning of April or whatever. But still, districts are left to kind of figure out, and get their spending done. Our budgets, we've been working on the budget since the beginning of January. And we still, there's still so much we don't know. And you're right. I think that's a huge issue. And then there's so many things that are, given to us by the state, these mandates that we have to follow, but there's no funding for them. So yeah, that's
right. Here, we want you to start doing preschool, but there's no funding for that. And we're not going to increase the funding for that, right? And so it's like we had our superintendent came on and he did a little video where he was talking about like the governor approved this much money. And it was like, I forget, like 800 million in the ballpark or whatever. But I think that what they really want is, I think that they really want $1 billion. So he kind of like thanked the governor. He's like, that's a strong number. But then he proceeded to see how we're $200 million less than what we need. And I'm like, so is it really a strong number then? I mean, advocate then. Say that we need $1 billion if that's what we need. I don't understand, okay, a strong number is great, but what would be a better number? The number it actually takes to fund all the laws that you're passing, like CTE. CTE is a big one for us too. Like, like career training and, we used to have SHOP back when I was, a long time ago when I was in high school in the 80s. We had SHOP and we had some things like that. And it seems like that stuff's kind of gone away. And now it seems like it's kind of like hit the 20-year cycle. Now it's coming back in, or maybe the 30-year cycle.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you because our district is looking at doing, they got the drone program.
Nice.
Yeah. And so that's like one of the things that they're kind of like toying with. But we need those sorts of things, available to us, and to have them in district as opposed to like, sending out to some kind of an external placement, I think is huge. But again, it comes back to the dollars and cents. And I mean, in our district right now, we're faced with, we've got this large budget gap. And so conversations about what is this going to look like, a couple of years down the road, we're talking about closing a school, at least a school, probably closing the district office and relocating that, so these are kind of heavy things that are, like you said, weighing on people's minds. And then not, none the least of which, I walk into a classroom today and these kids look at me, they go, "Oh, are you here to do the state test prep?" Because like, that's been my job. Roadshow, train kids how to use the computer-based testing. And I'm like, no, I'm actually here to do something really fun today.
No, I'm not going to do test prep. Oh boy. Oh, if they asked me to do test prep, I don't know. That might be where I could just be like, okay, get somebody else next year. You're brave. You're a brave person. You're a brave person.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So it's like morale. And then I always wonder, just to finish off, it doesn't seem like, I don't feel like our district office has someone that kind of goes back and forth and tries to advocate for, I do try and advocate for teachers, which is why everybody thinks I'm grouchy, but I'm like, do you realize how bad it is out there? Are you going out to the schools and seeing it? Because I'm going out to the schools. People are not happy. Like they're all, it's going to be like 2 months of just wondering when this shoe is going to drop and what's going to happen. And, these poor teachers that have just started for their first year, I know some great, I mean, teachers that have been kind of like working on the fringe. I think of one in particular, and she just got her job teaching and she's been working towards it for 5 years, but she's been in the district. I'm like, we're going to have to let her go. I'm like, she was 50 times the first year teacher I was when I was a first year teacher. Like, I should go write all those students an apology letter for my first year, right?
I do wonder about that too. I think about that all the time. I'm like, I've learned so much in the last, 16 years or so that, man, I do want to go back and say to those kids.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know. Well, it's good. You know, that's why I think sometimes the Facebook, as I like to call it, the Facebook is good. I saw some kids that were my fourth grade students, and now they're like 25, and I'm like, "You're 25. Wow, I'm old." Right?
That's right. We're middle-aged.
To middle age, but they, you know, like I said one thing to one of my old students from Alaska, and he was like, "Yeah, you know what? You're the best. You know, even if it's just phony, you're the best fourth grade teacher I had." You know, and I'm like, "Oh, thanks," but you know, it's probably not true.
But my guess is, knowing as much about you as I do, is that it was relationship, right? Because like back and forth,
Relationship.
like I had a student too who was saying, oh, when are you going to come back and be like a teacher full time again? When are you going to go back? Because my little sister is in kindergarten and she should have you for second grade. It's not about necessarily the experiences, although I think by that time my game was a little bit better. We were doing some really cool stuff. But I think it's about, they felt cared for,
Right. Well, I hope so. You know what? And there's always, like I say to people, like sometimes when they complain about social media and Facebook and things like that, there is a handy button that's called the mute button, or there's also a handy button. If I friend one of my old fifth graders, they can always decline my friendship, and then hey, then I know right off the bat, right? But boy, I'm telling you, mute button is your friend sometimes. Sometimes people are like, "Did you see this on Twitter?" And I'll be like, "No, I didn't. I mute people."
Very judiciously lately.
Yes, right. I don't know. So anyway, it's pretty interesting. Well, you know what? I want to talk here. Let's talk about something real quick. I think I'm going to skip over my positive thing to share because I'm going to share something else that's kind of positive. We'll save that for next time. But I did a lesson using the new drawing kit for Wonder Workshop. And if people don't know what Wonder Workshop is, those are those little dash and dot robots. They look like they're blue. I don't know, ping pong. They're bigger than ping pong balls, I guess, but they're blue tennis ball shaped kind of things. And you can code them, you can drive them and whatever. And I was trying to write a lesson with using the new sketch kit, which you kind of strap to it like a diaper, Christina. It's kind of sad. It's like a jock strap for your dash robot. So I was like, I'm putting a jock strap on my dash robot? Yes, you are. That's what it'll look like. You'll trust me. If you do this after you hear this, you'll know what I'm talking about. And so anyway, I tried it with kindergarten, and luckily I had tons of student and teacher aid helpers, or else there's no way I would have pulled that off as a just regular classroom kindergarten teacher. Right. But we went in there, and I thought it went. The kids really liked it, so that was good. And it was a good introduction to how to drive things. But I think if I use the drawing kit from now on, I would go third grade and up. And I think that I'm trying to think of how to do it though. So if you have a big butcher paper, you have your dash robot, which those are pretty large compared to other robots. They're kind of larger, right? You can hook it into its ear so that it can lift up the pen and put down the pen. So I was like, okay, so I'm trying to think about it now. What would I have kids draw where they could code out something onto like a piece of white butcher paper? Like, what could you program them to draw? Would you just start with like, I hate to always go back to math with the computer science, but would you go back to like, here, I just want them to code a geometric shape or something like that and lift up and put down? Or could you actually have them like draw a map or something?
I know. I was thinking that too. So, it seems like, I don't know, kids are super intuitive, that they might figure out the shapes piece really easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you think shapes for an introduction, and then as they kind of started to get better, that's a good introduction because you kind of always have to give them some time, and then they can start doing like Renoirs or right, Matisse or something like that. I don't know. It was kind of fun. The kids liked it, but I didn't even use the proper app for it. I used, I think, the Go app, which is just like you're using the joystick basically and drawing around. But it was cool because I did try to get them to kind of joystick. But if you do that lesson, make sure, and you do it, they don't even recommend from Wonder Workshop using the Go app with the drawing kit. Make sure that you use it on the lowest speed because, boy, I tell you what, trying to get it moves quick. But I think that drawing kit is really cool. I didn't buy the extra dry erase big sheet for it. I was just using butcher paper because I'm short of money. But
yeah, I would do that too.
Yeah. So anyway, it's cool.
related to that, then
Okay.
we don't have Dash and Dot. We don't have Wonder Workshop. We've got last year I was able to purchase a couple of, well, and now we have three Sphero kits.
Mm-hmm.
So Sphero or Dash
Mm-hmm.
and Dot?
Oh, that's like that's a tough one because I think that they're good. I think you can get very artsy with spheros too because you can put on those little
Yeah.
silicone things. And I've my friend Nicole Carter that I work with has done some pretty cool sphero drawing with it right now. Am I getting the Bolt, the newest sphero, or is it the kind of old sphero, the
We've
Spark?
got the Spark Plus, yeah.
I know, right? So there's the Sphero. You know what, Sphero? I love you, but boy, the Spark Plus seems like now it's getting left behind awful quick with your new upgrade to the Bolt. I haven't even gotten my Bolt yet. I bought on the Kickstarter with their new dune buggy thing, so we'll have to see. I don't know. I think Wonder Workshop works for kindergarten first and second, who I also work with a lot, even though I don't teach those grades. And do you have any good Sphero lessons for kindergarten first or second grade, or do
Yeah,
you mostly use third, fourth, and fifth?
the older students, so third grade and up. Although, like, I taught second grade, and so I could totally see that my second graders would have been able to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Kindergarten's a little bit tough.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that Wonder Workshop you can actually use because there's little things that you can, they have, I forget what it's called right now, but they do have the little tiles that you can put into it and like direct them. So it's like a cubetto. So the Wonder Workshop does get pretty versatile. I think I would just have to go, if you're going for bang for your buck for your school,
Yeah.
Wonder Workshop would work K through 5. And I've used it several times with kindergarten first and second, where I don't think I've used it as much, the Spheros as much with younger grades. That's just my opinion. I like both of them though. I like both of them a lot, What was the thing that you saw? So I was looking at this real quick. So your one thing to share was metaverse?
So metaverse. So I'm trying to like dabble in because I'm not extremely well versed in all the variety of AR and VR out there. And I feel like that's something that's getting a lot of airplay time. People are talking about it. My struggle is that metaverse is like super cool. You build this kind of like backstory. However, it's a lot on the creation end. And so even though something is really cool and it might be fun and it might be engaging, I want to know what the return on investment is going to be, because in my role, maybe it's something that, I'm a geek, so I don't mind geeking out and spending a bunch of time kind of building this app out. But is the average teacher find the time to build this, to find meaning in it? And so I'm just curious if that's going to be, a high return on investment. And so you and I were talking the other day in Voxer that's, sometimes I miss having a class of my own to be able to try some of these things out on, to be able to figure out if really the average classroom teacher is going to be able to put these things into practice, because it seems really slick. It's cool. It's fun, but it's a lot of legwork.
It is, right. And I always think that, like, I know that everybody's been talking about AR and VR for quite a while now. Like, right? Like, probably since I started doing Techlandia, I've been hearing about, like, ooh, here, you can use this app. And they seem kind of, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's as many. I thought by now, 8 years later, there would be some stuff where it would kind of be there for students and teachers. I just don't think it's still there yet. I think that we're still trying to really figure out AR and VR stuff and how it can be educational. We have those see, this is where I should have done some research. We have those machines that are like $10,000 each.
Oh my gosh.
We have a couple of those where you can use the little pointer and you can like look at the human heart. And I'll find out what those are called for next time. But we spent a lot of money on those, and I did hear from a student that I just asked a student randomly, and I asked what they were doing at their school just to kind of see. It's not one of my schools, and he said that they actually had those machines. I forget what they're called, but anyway, I think that that's interesting. But yeah, the AR VR. I don't know. I'm still not there. It seems like kind of like the Merge Cube. Whatever happened with the Merge Cube? Everybody was dying for Merge Cubes last year. And I have a couple of them. Are the Merge Cubes? I don't see them as much anymore. I saw them selling them for $1 at Walmart. People buying like 200 Merge Cubes in California, especially. But I don't know if I've seen anything else from that.
No, I haven't. I haven't come across it. And I did have some friends who went out and bought, a whole bunch of them, but I haven't heard that they're taking off really. Yeah, it's even like the Google expeditions, and our district wasn't one of the districts that got Google to come or whatever, but the neighboring district did, and it's just so much of this is still so cost prohibitive to do it at scale.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because you have to, the other thing is you have to have, like, if you have the goggles, you have to have the phone or the iPod Touch that fits inside it. And then you're like, I don't know. I used to love the iPod Touch back before there was, back before the iPad was invented. But when the iPad got invented, I kind of was like, oh, okay, I've got my phone now, right? Yeah. You have to have you'd have to ask parents if they have old phones or something like that, and then they can put them in, and then then you're getting a whole bunch of different kinds. So that's kind of an interesting one. All right, so here's my thing to share, and I got this from, I would love to say this is all my research, but it wasn't. I got an email from the TCA. I'm still on the Texas Computer Education Association newsletter.
I get them too.
All right, they're pretty good with what they do. I missed that conference. So this one's called Glide, and what it does is Glide at glideapps.com will take a Google spreadsheet and make it into an app for you. And it says it does it in like 5 minutes. It says every spreadsheet, much to Alice Keeler's probably delight then.
Yes.
Because she probably has a billion spreadsheets. I saw her bragging about, like, she's the spreadsheet queen at some Google Cloud Summit or something. But every spreadsheet is an amazing app waiting to happen. Alice Keeler, ball thrown at you, since you have more spreadsheets than ever. But it has some different ones where it says, like, you could put in like interview schedules or city guides or all these different things. I thought, wow, that's kind of cool if you could do some. And it says you can, for $0 a month, which is my price range, you can get unlimited apps and share the app with a link, but they have the branding for Glide.
Right. Wow.
Well, so I think when you're done with testing, and when Christina is done prepping classes on testing, I like those months after testing is, well, the 1 month after testing is over. Glide might be something you could try. Teach a little, get a little Google sheet going and be like, how can you make this into an app, and maybe test one out, and then maybe see if you could actually take and make some educational apps with it, like an educational database for the Oregon Trail. Who knows? It would
be really awesome.
Yeah, right. So I have not tested out, but so look, the price model goes all the way up to $99 a month. Oh, and then there's one for Pro where you can get the billing, which is $19. But I think you could try it out for free. So
free is good.
Free is what I like, but yeah, we'll have to see. So anyway, but that's my little one. It's glideapps.com. So Christina, do you think if I was a more with it educational strategist type TOSA person, I could probably take what we talked about just now and make it into a nice little Adobe Spark page with the podcast on it? What do you think about that?
That'd be awesome. I love it.
I know. I used to do that stuff. I'm going to find more time. I'm going to take that 25 minutes and just start blocking out time and locking my kids away, locking my 500 kids that I have away. Anyway, well, Christina, thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it. All right, you down to try this again after your spring break in a couple weeks?
Absolutely.
All right, let's keep trying.
Beach.
Well, think about something. You know who I was thinking about? I'll put the pressure on right now. I was thinking for first guest, somebody that I just met face to face, since I don't go to conferences that much anymore, is thinking we might try and get Bud the teacher on. But then we're combining 3 time zones.
That would be amazing.
Do you know Bud the teacher at all? Bud Hunt?
I have somebody else too that would.
Lay it on me.
Would do it, but because he's over in Hong Kong, but we'd have.
Oh wow, that would be
super cool.
Who is it? Who's the person in Hong Kong?
Marlon Ng. So he's working. They're going to start this school up in Thailand. He works for a private school over there.
Wow.
And this new school that they're building from the ground up.
Nice.
Like my personal dream. So, if I had no children and no responsibilities, I would pack up and go to Thailand. But
right. And you had investors and things like that. We talk about that all the time. It reminds me a little bit of there's a person we talked to on Techlandia 4 years ago, and we should check back in with her, Joanne Fox. And she's out in San Diego, and she's kind of was one of the people, and she took a year off to help plan it and stuff like that. And they went through like construction and everything. Be
That's
kind
awesome.
of cool. I know that would be a dream, wouldn't it? If we just had that. I need Dwayne Wade. Now we'll bring it all the way back around. I need Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade, if you're listening, give us some money and we'll make a school. We'll take it wherever you want to. You want us to go? You want us to go inner city Portland? You want us to go New York? You want us to go Chicago? We'll try it out, right? I don't
Yeah,
know if
I'm
my
going
family wouldn't be
to
thrilled
Portland.
though.
Don't you have a more kind of temperate climate than we have over here?
Yeah, we're about 50. It's just April to go with morale. April's kind of the month where everybody is now sick of the cloudy, rainy weather. But we
Yeah,
can handle it for a little bit. But now we're kind of like, once daylight savings kicks in,
yeah.
that's kind of how it goes. All right, Christina, we'll have a good spring break.
Thanks.
And we will catch you on the flip side.